Hi, this is George Price in Pendleton, Indiana, and joining me today via Skype is Michelle Gilbert with Verizon Wireless. We're going to talk about some emergency communications and what folks need to know in case they need to get a hold of emergency personnel. Hi, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm great, George. Good to be with you.
Where are you calling in from today on Skype?
Well, I'm actually in Louisville, Kentucky today. However, I am headed to the great state of Indiana a little bit later today. Okay.
Well, it's cold here. It's cold. Maybe a little colder here than it is in Kentucky.
I don't know. They had the record-breaking temperatures too.
Oh, did they really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What Michelle is going to talk about today, and I asked her to perhaps go over some of these, is emergency communications. We've had a couple. We had a pretty heavy snow storm a while back, and there's other things that can happen where folks might need their cell phone, smartphone to get a hold of emergency personnel. Michelle, what about the 911 service? Is that nationwide with Verizon Wireless now?
Oh, yes. Well, 911 is available not only on your cell phone, but believe it or not, if you have old phones that aren't even activated laying around the house, there's a national law that all cell phones have to have the ability to dial 911.
You mean if I'm using, now I'm going to upgrade this. I found out some information of how well the 4G works, and I'm still on 3G, so it's not going to be long for me, but I've got one of the original Droid phones from Verizon Wireless. It's 3G, and so the older phones do work. If I have some kind of a road emergency, I call 911, they're going to be able to know where I'm at?
Yes, that is true. That is true for all wireless carriers because that is a federal mandate. What I would tell you, however, is that people should be very cautious because if they're keeping old phones around that aren't activated just for the purpose of calling 911, the problem is if for whatever reason, if your phone dies, if you get cut off, if something happens, 911 cannot call you back because you don't have a phone number. So really, those old phones are not very valuable sitting in your drawer. You're much better off trading them in, and actually you can get a Verizon Wireless gift card by just trading them in.
Oh, okay. That's something I hadn't even thought about. So if I've given an older phone to one of my family members and they're just keeping it around for some kind of emergency call or something like that, and it's not activated, that could present a real problem then.
It could. I mean, I would say if someone needs a phone, whether it's for an emergency or just, for regular communication, they should absolutely have an activated phone. That's the best route to go. But back to your original question about 911, not only is 911 service available nationwide among all carriers, but there is a second phase of 911 called Enhanced 911 that gives the ability to locate you within, I believe it's 150 feet of where you are at.
Oh, okay. Oh, really? 100. Okay, that's getting pretty close. Now, what about emergencies that might be more widespread? Say, of course, on the East Coast, they had Sandy that took out a lot of resources around those communities over there. What happens in a situation should in the Midwest, should we have a large, say, ice storm where power would be down for a long time and there would be need, folks would have to get a hold of resources for one reason or another because of an emergency?
Sure. Well, and we have had those kind of emergencies. Like you said, there was I believe, a snowstorm a while back in Indiana. We've had ice storms in Kentucky.
Right.
In Henryville, Indiana, we had the tornadoes. What I can tell you, at least from Verizon Wireless's standpoint, is that we have permanent generators at virtually all of our cell sites, which means that if power goes out, we've got battery backup, and then if the storm or whatever the emergency is lasts longer than 8 to 10 hours, after that battery is has been depleted, our permanent generators kick in. We understand how important it is for our customers, whether they're consumers or businesses or emergency responders, to be able to communicate in a crisis. We're all relying on these wonderful devices that fit in our pockets every single day, and it means that we've got to be able to rely on them in an emergency too.
Okay. What about, Michelle, what about situations where folks want to use social media to do the communication? Sometimes I've heard folks say, especially Verizon Wireless, sometimes social media is not the best way when there's a large volume of people trying to get information. Perhaps texting might be better.
Well, here's what I would say, and I think what you're referring to is in the case of an emergency, such as when Sandy hit, or even back several years ago to 9/11, everybody got on their phone at the same time. And anytime something like that happens, you are going to have more challenges because a wireless network is built similar to a highway. And if there's a hurricane down south and everybody tries to get on the highway at the same time, you're at a standstill. So text messaging is an excellent alternative if you cannot make a call or if you cannot get onto your favorite social media platform, because it's just a very short burst of text that needs to find its way through the network. Okay.
How should families prepare for that contingency for an emergency then? Should they talk beforehand perhaps about how they're going to communicate with one another and know where everybody's at, know everybody's safe perhaps?
I think that's a great idea. Just as families have plans for if there's a fire in their house, it makes sense for them to have communication plans in case of an emergency. We also recommend to people that you always keep your phone charged, keep an extra battery on hand, keep a car charger if that's going to be your only form of charging. There's so many different things that you can do to prepare yourself in case of an emergency.
Yeah, that's another reason I want to get another phone. This battery in this earlier phone doesn't stay charged real well. What are municipalities doing? How is some municipalities I know out in New Jersey? There was a mayor that was just he was communicating with area residents all the time. Do you know what municipalities are doing with Verizon Wireless in case there is a natural disaster, widespread disaster?
Well, across the country, we work very closely with municipalities based on their disaster recovery plans and initiatives. In the case of an emergency, Verizon we consider ourselves a first responder.
All right, okay.
We've been there in the trenches We donate phones, we donate service. When the tornado of Henryville struck, we had a wireless emergency communication center that we drove into town. We lit up 4G LTE early so that people could get on our network and take advantage of the faster speeds. Gave them the opportunity to charge their phones at our emergency center, get on the internet from our 4G network. So we want to be there in the cases of emergency for our customers.
Okay, and Verizon Wireless has some information online that folks could, if they have a question, look into this further, they can check out, find that information on Verizon Wireless's website too, can't they?
Absolutely, VerizonWireless.com.
Okay.
And there's a big area with a question and answer and responding to emergencies and things like that.
All right. Well, Michelle Skyped in today via her smartphone from Kentucky, and we know she's busy and she's getting ready to head up to our part of the country here in Indiana, and we really appreciate, Michelle, very much you take the time this morning to talk about emergency communications with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.